Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Kauna. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Sorry, we'll have to wait for the others to join
Okay,
for
okay,
some
let's
time.
just wait for
Yeah,
them.
okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in today. How are we? Hello, can everybody hear me? Okay, okay. Um, okay. So we'll be starting a moment from now. I'm happy that we're all here today. So the first thing we'll be doing today is we'll be creating a simple landing page with HTML and CSS. Laptops and okay. So we'll be starting. Let me share my screen.
Please let's try to mute ourselves if you are not speaking, please. Benjamin Yusuf, Abil Jumerere, please, you guys should mute yourself, please. Please mute your mics.
Sorry. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen now. Oh shit.
Sorry guys, it seems like the host is having some technical issues. So let's just give her some minutes. She should be back soon. Let me reach out to her. Yes, yes, the session will be recorded. So just hold on. I'm trying to get through to her. Please, if you are not speaking, just mute yourself. I'm not the host, so I can't mute you. Okay, she's back.
Okay, good evening. Sorry about the glitches. I'm about to share my screen now.
Kauna, please, can you mute those? You can do that from your end. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know what is happening with that. Sorry for that. Let me check up. What is sorry, yeah, sorry for the meantime. So I think it's the network issues. Probably. Please bear with us.
Who is talking safe?
Okay. Sorry about that. Hello, can you hear me now? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Please tell me, is it glitching now? Is it still glitching?
Yeah, it's clear like this.
Okay. Is it still showing the multiple screens now? Hello?
You can go ahead. We can see your screen clearly. Please just try as much to mute those not speaking. I think that's why there is an echo.
Okay. But then, like, can you see what I'm doing? Like, can you see the screen of VS Code?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you can see it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much. So the first thing we'll do when we open VS Code is to go to the file that's on the top left
Please,
corner.
so I don't hear what you are saying. You speak louder, I beg. Oh.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we do when open Visual Studio Code is to go to file and then we'll open a folder. So we'll come here, open a folder. I already have a folder open, which is named projects. Sorry, please mute your mics, please and please, so that we can all pay attention, please. Um, Adeoye,
You can
please mute your
you
mic.
can go
Thank
to the
you.
participants and mute the mic. Just go to the participants. That's where the number is showing,
Okay.
and mute the person's mic.
Okay. So I already have a folder open named projects. So I open it and then I create a new folder. And then we'll name this GDSC um front end. And then we'll create and then we'll open the folder. And then it is opened. Then we come to where the A4 paper like icon is. We click on it to create a new file. So to create the body of what our HTML file look like, we'll go to your keyboard and press on Alt, and then where your exclamation mark is, you press Alt and exclamation, and then you see something like this pop up. But then when you click on this, you should see that it is just our doc type HTML that shows. One, and then we'll see the structure of what our HTML body should look like. And then the first thing we'll do is to create a section, and then section. But then our section, in as much as it gives us a structure and a naming structure, we also need to create a class which we'll use to style it. And then we'll name this class body. Sorry about that. Body inside the quotation mark. And we'll come under our section and then we'll create a nav. So what nav does is that it's a navigation tag. So it helps us navigate. We'll also give it a class rule, and like our section class, our nav rule enables us style. So we'll go to our nav rule and then we'll name it navigation. Sorry, navigation class. Sorry, navigation. Then we'll give it a class of primary navigation. So for now, you might not really see what we are doing, but then at the end of the day, you get to see that. But then we want to see what we are doing as we are coding. So there's an extension here. It's called live server. This is what live server looks like. So it enables us see what we are doing in real time. So you click here. For those of us on our Windows or on our phones, you um you right click and then you open live server. So this is what our live server looks like. For now, we haven't done anything, so you might not really see what we are doing. Sorry about this. Okay. Sorry, can you see my screen? Hello. Okay. So under our navigation rule, we'll create an list. What is all other list is basically not that list. So for something like an ordered list, we have to like 1, 2, 3, it basically shows us the order of how things look like. But then for one ordered list, you might have basically a hyphen, something like a bold dot, and then an ordered list. Then we create a list tag with RIF. So come here, you press Alt key, and then you press 7. And give us this.
Sorry, Kauna.
Now press
Sorry.
DT.
Hello.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah, it seems your network disrupted you, so you left, and now your screen is not sharing.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Can you all see my screen now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So please, in case my network goes off, and please somebody should draw me back, please and please. Okay, so I'll go back again. So initially when we started with our HTML, we created this basic structure of what it looks like. So I'll create another file. Let's name it front.html. And then this is what I basically did. You press your Alt key and then your number 1 on your keyboard, and then to give us this. But then when we come here, it basically just gives us the doctor HTML, and this is not what we want. We want a basic structure of what we'll work with. So press Alt and then exclamation, and then click on this first and then it gives us a structure of what our HTML should look like. So I'll delete this. What's the trash? What's the trash? So we'll now come to our body. And then in our body, we said we'll create a section. So what our section basically does is that it gives us a structure of what we can work with. So on our section, we give it a class name of body. So this will be the class name of body. And then under our section, we'll have a navigation. And what our navigation does is basically just what navigation means. It helps us navigate. And then under our navigation, we'll have a rule. So we'll have something called navigation rule. So just like a class, it basically gives us a structure and a naming, sort of a naming convention of how to go about naming our HTML in our CSS files. So under our nav rule, we'll have navigation. Sorry, navigation. And then for the class for the nav, we'll have a class, and then basically we all know what primary is. It's just like the basic, like okay, this is just what's our basic navigation will be. And then under our navigation, we'll have an unordered list. So like an ordered list will basically give us a structure like 1, 2, 3. But then an unordered list will give us maybe a hyphen. And then for some of us who type, will basically know that when you create like a subsection, you get either a hyphen or something like a dot. Sorry, I don't have like a pictorial view of what everything looks like. I'll send in the slides by tomorrow. So under our unordered list, we'll have a list item. So this better our list will have a link. Which is our href. So this will link us to our page. So we'll name it home. But then before that, we'll have to, type in where it will lead us to. So we'll just press our hashtag and then we close it. I have to repeat this all over again. So all we'll just do is just copy, Command C or Control C, and then paste. And then we'll rename this work. So this is just basically what it is. And then under work, we'll have an unordered list. So this will basically be what our drop-down menu will contain. So under our unordered list, we'll have a class, and we'll name this drop-down. And then under our drop-down, so basically what our drop-down will do is that it will show us what we'll have. So for some of us who, they go to websites and then you click on the navigation, you get to see what each naming convention contains. So for instance, now under work, we'll have something like a list, and then this list will have also a link that shows us what directs us to page, and then we'll have hashtag, and then we'll call this web development. Sorry. Okay, so for some of us who just joined in, we first started off by creating a home, another list, and a list, and then so for if you can see my screen, you can see that there's a home, and then there's work, but then under work we have web development, and then we'll still create something similar where we copy Command C or Control C, and then we'll paste, and then we'll paste, and then we'll paste again. So you can see that we have 4 items of web development, but then we are going to rename this, and then we are going to call this web design. And then for the third item, we'll name it front end. And then for the last item, we'll name this GDSing. Um, so if you can see here, we have a list item here, but then we don't want it to just end as a list item. Okay, we have work, but we don't just want work. We want these items we created to be under the drop down for work. So what we'll do, we'll come back here, create a list, and then under the drop down, we'll create a closing tag of list. So we will then go back to work. Under work, we want work to have an icon, sort of. And then this icon is called DTRIF. And then what to do is that it will create, so if you can see here, it created something like an arrow-like icon. So when we click on this, after styling it, it will basically show us what we have under work. And then after lists, we'll come back here, and then we can copy to save time. Paste, and then paste. And then here we'll have our about. And then here we'll have contact. So that's it for our HTML structure. Okay, so lastly, we need to style our HTML. We want it to look, really great. We want it to look, in our introductory class, talk about UI and basically user interface. So we want it to look pleasing to the eye. So we'll have to link it to our styles. So we'll create a new file. Sorry, I have to delete this folder. We'll create a new file, and then we'll name this styles.css. Then we'll go back here. And then we create a link. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing
Yes,
you.
please. You can.
You can't hear clearly.
I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay.
You are
Okay,
audible.
okay, yeah, you are audible, but I think because you are sharing your screen, it's hard to see what what you are coding. I thought I was the only one. So maybe you should just utilize a full screen first. Maybe you
Okay.
then the switching tabs. I think that will be better because it's hard to actually see what's um your code basically.
Okay, can you see now? Is it much clearer now?
If you can maybe like increase the font.
Okay. Okay. Um,
Or you zoom in. I don't know, on Windows there's a way to zoom in. I don't know really much about Mac or zooming in.
Sorry.
Okay, Command
Let me see.
plus, CMD plus, right?
Yeah. Is it better now?
I'm almost there. Yep, it's too much then. Just a little bit. You can just
Is it
reduce it
better?
a little. You can reduce it. Yep, yeah, it's better now.
Okay.
Yep. Hey, it's saying
So
far again. Just come back in it.
okay. It's
Aha.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. So like I was saying, after creating our HTML structure, we'll need to link it to our styles, the CSS. So what we'll do is that we'll um create a link. So what we'll do is name it link rel. Link rel will be equal to our style sheet. And then after our style sheet, we'll then have our href, which links to our styles.css. And then we'll close. So now we'll go back. Sorry. And then we can basically see what our HTML structure looks like. Then to style it, styles.css, we already have our class names and our role names. So all we'll have to do is just to, name our body. So we named our section class body. So we'll come here, body, and then under body we'll have our background image. So for background image, we'll have to go to Unsplash. So there's a site called Unsplash. It basically gives you high resolution pictures. Then come here. And then you can basically see high resolution pictures, and then you choose anyone you get to download. But then I already downloaded some later in the day, so I'll just come here and then copy the link, and then come here under background image. We have our URL, and then brackets, and then basically where our page leads to, and then we'll name this .jpg. And then after our background image, we'll have a background repeat. So what background repeat basically does is that it helps us, it basically does not repeat. So when we have no repeat, it basically does not repeat the background image. But then when we have repeat or cover, it basically repeats it. No repeat, and then background attachment. So what background attachment does is that it basically keeps our background image on check. So it doesn't get to move or it doesn't get to shake. And then we'll name this fixed, which means it's fixed on that position. And then we'll have background position. Now what our background position does is that it positions it, so we can say, oh, we want our image to position to the left or maybe to the right. But then what we want it to do is that we want it to be centered. Next, we'll have nav.primary navigation. Nav.primary navigation. You might say, oh, nav.primary navigation, what is all about? We'll come back to our HTML and then we can see that, yes, we have our nav, but then we also have primary navigation. So what this does is that it helps us name it. So we have nav.primary navigation, if that makes sense. Then next we have our margin. And then for our margin, we have 0, and then we have auto. But then you might ask, oh, why don't you just have 0? Or why don't you just have auto? So there's something in my notes where I got to create. Okay. For instance, now one major um difference or one major conflicting issues people might be naming difference between our margin and difference between our padding. But then what padding does is that padding helps us to work with the internal components, that's the border of the of our whole page. And then what margin does is that it helps us work with the external components or the external parts or borders of our components. So for instance, now if I let's say this is margin, let's change this to margin, and then I have margin here, and I name it 1 pixel or 1 em. What this does is that it just applies only 4 sides of this. But then if I have margin and I name it, oh, let's say my margin is 5 pixel or 10 pixel. What this does is that it works with both the 5 pixel works with the top and bottom, and the 10 pixel works with the left and right. But then what if we have 3 numbers? Then we know that it works with the first number works with our top, the second number works with the left and right, and the third number works with the bottom. And then let's say we have 4. So what then does 4 numbers actually mean? So our first number will have the top, the second number will have the right, the third number will have the bottom, and the fourth number will have the left. So for this, we can say, okay, this is both top and bottom, and then also is for left and right. Then we have our display. And then we'll display this as block padding. So like we work through this, our padding is basically top, then 0 for right, 0 for left, and 0 for bottom. And then we'll have our text align. So text align, what text align does is that it basically aligns our text. So align our text to center, and then we have our font size, and like we know, the font size is basically the size of the font, and this will be 16 pixels. Okay. Then we have our nav dot primary navigation, and then we have our unordered list and our list item. So this basically works with the primary navigation initially, and then the unordered list item we have, and then the list items we have here. If you can see my cursor, sorry. Then we'll come back here, and then under this we'll have our list style. And then our list style will have none. And then for our margin, it will still be 0 and then auto. And then we have our border. Sorry about this. Border left. And then for our border left, we have 2 pixels, and then we'll make it solid. So what solid basically does is that it makes it bolder. For instance, now for some of us who type, when let's say when you want to highlight something and make the font bold, you just basically type bold. But then in HTML, we call it solid. And then color, it will be 3C A0E7. Sorry, A0E7. So you might ask, oh, why is our colors in a hashtag? So what this basically does is that it gives us some sort of variety, because if I decide to say, oh, let this just be blue, then we can see we don't really have the luxury, or that's that's opportunity to explore what our colors might be or the different shades. So we can just click here. If you click here, you get, okay, this is the shade of this color blue, and then this is the shades of this color blue, and then this is another. But then we'll go back and then basically hashtag C um 3CA0E7. But then even as we can see, okay, yes, we have the luxury of a shade, or to pick colors and to pick shades and all that. Why then is it both numbers and letters? But then this is called the hexadecimal base system. So for our numbers and our everyday calculations, we use the number base 10. And then for base 10 numbers, we basically have numbers in 10. So you can have 10, 20, 30, and all that. But then for base 2 numbers, we know we use zeros and ones. But then for hexadecimals, because we know that numbers are basically between 0 and 9, we know that for this hexadecimal, it can't contain those numbers 0 and 9. So it then includes the use of letters. So we'll get to have our display, and then for our display it will be inline block. So what does inline block means? Inline block means it's basically in line, just like the word suggests, but then it's in the form of a block, if that makes sense. And then we'll have our padding. So what is padding basically? Like I explained, padding basically deals with the internal borders of our background. And then we have our position. And then our position can be relative. And then we have our text decoration, which is none. We don't want anything to it. And then text align, like I said, text align, enter. And then we have our font family. So font family Avo. So what is font family? Font family is just basically the family or the type of fonts we want. So I'll stop here for some time. Does anybody have a question for now? Anything maybe you don't understand? Sorry, I'm going to show. So this is what our code looks like. So I know it looks distracting, but then at the end of the day, we'll basically change the text color and everything. So we for the border and the style, that was solid. This is what, if you can see this, sorry, let me zoom in. If you can see this line, this blue line, that was just what it was used for. It was just basically a border line to separate or part of the design for it. So for now, does anybody have a question? Let's pause and catch up. Sorry, does anyone have a question? Okay. Okay. Hello, can you see my screen now? Hello?
Oh, yes, I'm seeing your screen clearly. Yes, we can.
Okay. Does anyone have a question?
I don't think there's any question. Continue.
Okay. So the next thing we'll have to sort out to be our now. Okay. Now dot primary navigation. And then we'll have our list item and then our A tag for our link. What this will basically do is that style this A element for this web development, web design, front end, and TTS. Sorry, if your mic is on, please can you mute? Okay. So we'll go back to our styles of CSS, and then we'll have our nav, the primary navigation. Then we have this item. So for that we'll have our color, and I will say, oh, let this color just be black, and then we'll get black. The next thing we'll style will be our nav dot primary navigation, and then under primary navigation we want our list item, and then we want our A tag. Under our A tag we want it to hover. What does hover mean? Hover is basically in simple terms is basically the change of color, if that makes sense, just in basic terms. So for instance now, if I come to home, when I click on home, I want home to, immediately I tap or I click on home, I want home to change the color to blue. So how do we do that? So we come back here, and then we say, okay, when we hover around our A tag, which our A tag will basically give us our web design front end and everything. When we hover around it, we want the color to change to blue. So what we'll do is that we'll type in um color, and under color, we want it to have this same color. So we can just copy, sorry, and then but then under our now primary navigation, under our hover, we also want that when we hover around it, it should give us a cursor like icon. So we have
Adeoye, why do you keep on muting yourself when you are being muted? Please mute your mic if you have nothing to say. Please.
our nav, the primary navigation, li, that's our the pointer. Under that also, we'll also have our the primary navigation, and under that we'll have our unordered list, and then we also want to have our list item, and under the list item we also want to have our unordered list. And then we'll style this, and then we want the visibility to be hidden. What does this mean? It basically means that, sorry, when I come here and I click on this, I don't want to see. So initially, when we click, before we turn the visibility to be hidden, we had already seen that, well, we had some of our list items under work showing, but then we don't want that to show. So we'll just turn the visibility. That's what we can see. We want it to be hidden, basically that. And then visibility hidden. And then we want our opacity to be 0. So what is opacity? In simple terms, I can say, or we can say, opacity is the opposite of transparency. So when something is transparent, it basically means we can see through that. But then for opacity, we can't necessarily see through it, but then we want it to show. But let's say, oh, I put my opacity to 0.3, or let's say 0.4. What this basically does is that it sort of blurs the background, if that makes sense. So we don't want this opacity, so we'll just type 0, which basically 0 means none. And then we'll have our display. They want our display to be block, that's in a block format. And then the minimum width should be 250 pixel. So by next week, when we go in depth into responsiveness, we'll basically talk about how to make your web page or your website responsive. And then we'll have our text aligned. So our text should be aligned. It should be aligned left. For our padding top, that's basically the internal border. Our padding top should be sorry about that. Our padding top should be 20 pixel. And then our box shadow, so it's just basically the shadow of the box in simple terms, should be 0 pixel, 3 pixel, that's for top, for right, 5 pixel for left, and then -1 pixel for bottom. Then we want the color to be white. Well, not necessarily white. We want it to be in a shade. So, see. Next, we'll have our nav.primary navigation, and then we have our unordered list, our list item. On the list item, that's, let me go back to font HTML. On the list, we also want our unordered list and our list. So we'll come back to style.css, and then we'll have our unordered list and then our list item. And then we style this, we'll have our clear for both. And then we have our width, which means our width should be 100%. This will be 100%. And then we want our text to align, but then we want it to be aligned left. So this will be left. Next, we want our margin bottom. Sorry about that. Margin bottom. We want our margin bottom to be 20 pixels. Next, we want our border style. So this is basically the style of the border. Border style should be none. We don't want anything basically. Next, on the nav primary navigation, we have nav primary navigation. And then we have our unordered list, we'll have our list item, our unordered list, and then we want our a tag to hover. So hover. And then we want our padding left to be 10 pixel. 10 pixels. We want our border left to be 2 pixels. 2 pixels. And then it should be solid. The same color we used earlier on. That's for this. Copy. And then paste. And then under that, we want our transition. So what this basically means, in simple time, can be the ease. So ease of transition, what this basically means is how it transitions. So how easily do we want it to transition to minimize the time frame and all that. So we want it to be all. We want it to transition in 0.3 seconds. But then we want it to, ease. So we can basically say we want it to ease in, out, or ease out. So for those of us who have used PowerPoint, we can basically testify to some animations we see. It can zoom in and zoom out. That basically means it's easy, just all that. Next we have our A tag. So for our A tag, we want to style this. And then we'll have our text decoration. And then we want it to be none. That's basically that. But then also on our A tag, let me go back to this. That's for this. Sorry, I'm coming. Also for our A tag, we want that when we hover around this, let's see. We want that when we hover around it, it should give us a color, and this color should be this blue. So come here, and then file this, and then we'll see. Sorry. Text decoration. Sorry. Yeah, hover. When we hover around it, it should give us a color, and that color should be this. Next we'll have our unordered list, our list item, and on our unordered list under our list item, and then the list item, and then our A tag. So we want the transition, that is in which it transitions, to be or it means everything inside. But then we want it to transition in 0.5 seconds, and then we want ease. Basically, we don't want it to ease in, we don't want it to ease in and out, and we don't want it to ease out. We just want it to just have that ease. And then come back here. Sorry. Open live server, and then we can basically see what this looks like. Sorry. Okay. Functioning well. So I'll just have to check in and check what's going on. Okay. Okay. I can't seem to find the error, but then I will by the end of the class. So, sorry. You can basically see what these does. This is supposed to work, but then, like I said, by the end of class, I'll figure it out. So for now, I will entertain questions. If anyone has any question, please, let us know. Does anyone have any question? Sorry, do you have any question? Does anyone have any question? Are we able to follow along? If anyone can answer me, please.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for this
Good evening.
opportunity. As this is first experience with HTML and CSS, I couldn't follow along honestly. But I believe after watching for a second time, I'll be able to understand the process. And I will ask my questions in the WhatsApp chat, inshallah. Thank you.
Okay. So, I'll create a slide and then I'll share it to the group chat by before the end of tomorrow, so that you can basically understand and start the whole process. But then on the group chat, I also shared a link to basically setting up VS Code and then understanding HTML. But then, like I last said, I'll still create the slides and then share them in the group chat by before the end of tomorrow. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say what you did. I didn't come here very early, but I learned a lot about transition because I think there's a lot of transitions that so many people do individually, but you learn some from other people, some from other people. But this is my first time ever using ease, and I feel like I will use it again. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question? Okay. So
Kauna, I don't know if you are talking, but your mic is muted.
sorry about that. Okay. Someone asked in the comment section or in the chat box how I created the CSS file. So this is what I basically did. I'll delete this. Delete. So I came to if you can see my icon, where my icon is pointing to, I just clicked on it and then I named it styles, or you can name it style.css. And then if you come here from the class name, we can see that for our section, the class name is body. So we'll come here and then we click on body. Now you can say, oh, for our body, we want the display the block that's in a block format, or you can say, oh, like we did, we want our background image have, you know, a URL of, whatever your background image, the link to your background image is. You click on it, and then you can say background repeat or background attachment. It should be fixed. So we don't want it to change position, we don't want it to move, we just want it to be in a fixed position. And then you can say background size, cover. So basically what cover does is that, I come back here, you can see that the background image basically like we said covers the whole page. So that's just basically it. Yes. Do we have any more questions? For the person that asked, are you satisfied with your answer? Is Ibrahim here? Is he satisfied with the answer?
Yes, I'm satisfied. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, since the
Hello, Kaunas. I think someone is raising up the hand. Are you still on the call? Your mic is muted, Kauna.
sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, so I was asking earlier on if we all followed, if we all understood what happened. Um are we all satisfied? Did we understand? I would like to hear some feedback, please. Okay. Adeoye, good evening. I saw your video on. Were you able to follow through? Did you understand?
Actually, I'm really excited. I'm really happy. I follow on, but the matter is that I'm a learner. I will still go through everything. No, anything where I
Okay.
don't understand, I will let you know. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. You're welcome. Who else? Does anybody want to go next? or should I call names? Were we able to follow through? Okay. Udwak, were you able to follow through? Did you understand? Did you join in late? Want to know? Okay, no answer. Okay then. So our task for this week to be submitted by Sunday evening, latest Monday morning, will be to create a simple landing page. The recording for this video will be sent to each and every one of us on the group chat. We'll create a similar landing page. I will paste the code on GitHub. So I want each and every one of us to open a GitHub account. I'll paste the code on GitHub, sorry. You can view the code and code along with it. Or basically, be creative, be as creative as possible. On the group chat, I will let us all know where to send the assignment to. But then for now, I'll just send it. You can just send it to my email address. You have to compress the file. So if you're sending a whole folder, which is basically being a folder anyway, you have to compress it and then send it to my email address. And then we'll get to review it. Hopefully, anybody who is as creative, who gets really creative, will get a cash prize or something. Thank you very much. I'm happy we all joined in today. Thank you. Our team lead, do you have anything else to say?
No, it's all cool. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate it. Good night, everyone. The recording will be sent
Thank you
in
for your
by
effort.
tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you for your effort.
Okay. Good night.